Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of ComicBook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw. With me today is my brother, my bad boy, ride or die brother, Matthew Aguilar is here in full handlebar mustache. If you're watching the live show with us, it's gotten thick. Yeah, let's get right into it. So this is the live show, and as our fans are already getting in and saying, like, yeah, there's we have in-house stuff to discuss today, guys, but you're gonna have to stick around to the end for that. We have a nice little segment at the end where we will be running down all the changes that just came our way this week. It has been a week, guys, and if you can believe it, it's my birthday today, and it has been
Happy birthday!
Yeah, thank you. It's been a crazy week, and yeah, we are doing this while so many things are happening behind the scenes. Don't take it as any kind of sign that Janelle Wheeler isn't here. She's a mommy now, and you sometimes get stuck with these babies, and today is one of those days. Oh, thank you, guys. Everybody in the live show put a little bumper on there saying happy birthday, and little quotes from our fans out there. Shout out to Jay Jones, Chris Chipperson, Bry Wood, I always don't want to butcher your name, Morales 25, everybody on the live show. Thank you, guys. And thank you for, I will say before, like I said, we're going to save the in-house stuff to the end because this is a entertainment show. But shout out to all our fans who were checking for us, because I just want to say, like, I'm counting on you guys now after this week and this experience to, if we ever go missing, I'm going to be waiting by the black phone in the basement of the killer's house for you guys to save us, because you guys were checking in on us almost immediately, and just kind of piecing together the panic quotes of comic book staff everywhere. And you guys were like, yo, you guys all right? Checking up on us. And that was good to see. So thank you. But yeah, we're all right. We'll get into all the in-house stuff at the end. We got some stuff to talk about today. I want to say it's going to be fun. But if you saw the image for this episode by producer Pete, it's... yeah, we're going to be making a strange end of an era on a strange and terrible note, but here we go anyway. So up first, the first thing I want to talk about is, one thing that kind of weirdly dovetailed with our week to this week was the end of My Hero Academia. The hit manga anime series My Hero Academia came into an end. The final chapter of the manga was released, chapter 430. If you can believe it. And we're not going to go too deep in that of a segment because we got a whole anime segment in Comic Book Nation. It's called Anime Initiative, where our queen of anime, Megan Peters, and her excellent team of anime experts break all of this down, the ending of My Hero Academia. But it was interesting because it just, like I said, we talked about it also on the pull list, our comic segment where me and Matt pulled, all the biggest comics this week. But it weirdly dovetailed. I got emotional from it because it weirdly dovetailed with everything we're going through this week. Yeah, it was nice. So shout out to Anime Initiative. That episode is now up. You can find it on any one of the comicbook.com anime pages. Also in our feed on the podcast platforms and on YouTube, where people seem to be watching that and loving Megan and the team's breakdown of My Heroes Academia's ending, what it means, kind of taking on some of the big fan debates about whether Deku got a good ending to his story or not and how things shook out. So be sure to check that out, because I know that we have, even if you weren't like the biggest anime fan, we had a lot of crossover fans. That series really changed the game again for anime in a significant way by kind of bringing in the superhero crowd. Yeah, so it was a good time and end of that era as well. So check out our anime initiative, My Hero Academia wrap up, plus their latest and all of their great episodes this week. Adios. Matt, we had a busy week. Been back in the before 4 times of Monday, actually Sunday night, and the before 4 times of Sunday night. Janelle Wheeler and I hopped on, and she helped me out on Sunday to do a live reaction to House of the Dragon season 2's finale. But since then, we've had time to process the finale, hear the fan debates about it. And we've gotten some big news about the future of the series. So first, let's start with, we didn't get to hear from you, buddy. You've been kind of riding with us with Hot D. So what did you think about the kind of tip end of Hot D there?
Man, what a setup. I feel like I've been a little more lukewarm on this season than I was the first season, and it's just, there's been some really good stuff here. I do feel like it picked up the last couple episodes. It picked up because you were starting to see kind of where things were going, and then they kind of went like, hey, we're gonna save all the, like, essentially we're gonna get to this awesome battle, but you're not gonna see it. We're gonna save all of that for season 3. And I was like, for real? Because I was in, right? They started to get me. We start seeing like all the, the dragon riders, and I love that whole group, like that, all of that, the build up to like trying to find people to like go with these dragons was great, right? So I love all that stuff. And then we finally get this like big thing of like, all right, the armies are in place, we're moving. It's like, pause. You gotta wait
wait till season 3.
Yeah, I was like, what is this mess? So that, while that was a bummer, because there was parts of this season that, like, kind of like we talked about The Boys, I have similar things with House of the Dragon this season of like, this feels like so much setup to the next season, and I'm kind of not. You're not hooking me for now. You're hooking me for next year, which is great. And that was my big complaint with The Boys. I was like, oh my God, that felt like season, 4 point, like it felt like season 3.5. And then, we're going to move into what the real season 4 is, which is now season 5, right? So House of the Dragon was kind of doing that, but it saved itself towards the end with all of the like Targaryen dragons, like all of that stuff encapsulated, made me really excited for this, and then it got me back in. So I'm all in for season 3, but I'm like, as far as like where this kind of cut and ended, it's a bummer to me. And also coincides with the news, right? Kind of like you were talking about before, of where I am glad that we have an endpoint now, because they of course announced that season 4 is going to be the last season. So kind of like Boys did, where like we set this benchmark out, we know we're ending it. So now there's like, we have a finite story. We're not just going to keep dragging this along. That makes me happy. So I'm super in on season 3. I'm kind of mixed on season 2 overall, and kind of where they chose to end it. That's just me.
I love season 2 overall, man. It's just, I agree with you about the ending of the finale. It didn't feel like a finale, and that's why I was kind of upset. I more so would have liked them to end it with this. I've seen this online, people talking about this. Like, if this would have been the finale per se, I would have been cool with that, man. But overall, like I said, I love the season. Just the episode, the last episode, it wasn't even bad. It wasn't a bad episode. I felt a little bit underwhelmed because it didn't feel like a finale to me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys, that's producer Richard, by the way. He's hopping in. Rich sometimes he's always running things behind the scenes here all the time, but sometimes he's got to get it off his chest. I understand. You guys are dovetailing what Janelle Wheeler and I said on our live reaction, which was, I said that this episode kind of weirdly retroactively devalues the rest of the season. Like, the season felt so strong as we were going along. And then you get to this season, and like you said, it's like, all we accomplished here was stage setting for next season. And it makes me feel like all the stuff I watched didn't have a point. or a big enough payoff. But I did say that, traditionally Game of Thrones does do its big payoff in a penultimate episode of a season. And then the season finales are typically kind of like end some of this stuff, set up some new stuff, and do that. And that's what happened here. But again, it did have that effect where I thought like this was one of the strongest seasons of Game of Thrones, episode per episode per episode. But then when we got to the end, I'm like looking back at the whole thing, like, I don't know, bro, kind of weak. But
for me, they started so strong.
Yeah. But I will say that Janelle Wheeler and I had a long discussion. Shout out, she's in the comments. Shout out, Janelle, we miss you.
Hey.
So we had a whole discussion because we ended our recap show, and you can go listen to this verbatim, saying, what do we think they're going to do now that everybody's going to be talking about the pacing of this season? What do we think they were going to do with the rest of the show? And I said it. I go on this whole thing just a day before they announced it. I said, because Charlie Ridgely and I, after the penultimate or the episode a couple episodes ago, Charlie Ridgely, who's Turn Up Charlie on this show, who's a huge Game of Thrones fan, knows the lore, knows the books inside and out, said, we were measuring what this season was going to do. There's a huge thing called the Battle of the Gullet, which will be early in season 3. And we were like, if they get that in season 2 and we end there, like, we think we know where they're going to pace this show out. If they don't and they delay it till next season, we definitely know where they're going to pace this show out, which was next season we'll get the Battle of the Gullet early. And we know exactly, I think, where season 3 will end. And it'll end with a kind of major event. We're going to start losing some, major players. And then season 4 is going to be about the dark fallout when major people start going, who's left behind, and, how this all kind of wraps up and how the future of Westeros gets established, because that has directly something to do with what is coming next, which is, a hedge knight, a knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which is about Sir Duncan the Tall and his squire Egg. Well, guys, I mean, I think it's not a spoiler to tell you that what this show is really about is Egg is actually a Targaryen. It's another Aegon, and another pivotal king in Westeros history, whose younger brother or older brother happens to be a guy we know named Maester Aemon. So this is kind of the story of that leg of the Targaryens. And so, yeah, they got to kind of, the timing of all this is kind of funny, because we got to get where this show ends. We'll kind of establish this kind of, how the Targaryen line, because still, we know, went on for a while after this, but like kind of where it steered to next and kind of ended up by the time we get to the time of Sir Duncan, and whatever. And that's a kind of epic arc of a story of what happens there to kind of shape Westeros into the Game of Thrones we know at the start of that series. So, yeah, man, I think we got 4,
like a season 4 or something, or is that something that will happen like in a spinoff? What you're talking about?
Oh, that's the next series. That's what the Hedge Knight, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, is about. It's about Sir Duncan the Tall and his adventures of becoming this legendary knight with his squire, who everybody just thought was this guy, but was really a royalty in disguise, going out and learning about the world and people and doing all that stuff. A Targaryen who actually went out and became an actual person of the people, and did all that. So this, what that show's kind of about. So we're going to get 4 seasons. I know exactly what season 3 is going to be already. And, and they banked it, because and this is kind of what series do sometimes. They get caught up in their own mythos. They're basically doing like a Red Wedding season, right? That was season 3 of Game of Thrones. And that's what they're doing here. Next season's going to be the one where, everybody's jaws.
I feel like floor. Captain America. I know that reference.
Yeah, like everybody's jaws is going to be on the floor, because
I know
we start having real ish happen. This is Game of Thrones season 2. This is just literally moving pieces around. And I did like what this season ended with, which was, it did try to sum things up with kind of like showing us that we're going into a war, but even amongst the sides of the war within the camps, there's so much conflict and potential for really bad things to go wrong, right? Whether it's Corlys and his baby daddy drama, or Rhaenyra with people like Ulf sitting around the table and all the tensions that's clearly already kind of creating. The Greens, Aemon's lost his grip on things. His brother's off and going to be plotting from afar. All this stuff is happening. So these two sides are going to war, but each side has a lot of cracks in it. And so like they did that, but yeah, I mean, they definitely kicked the can down the road for the big stuff payoff for next season. So, but they got us, man. So you're going to be there.
I am excited though, because that's the thing. It worked.
Yeah, so we're gonna be keeping up on the hot D track, Game of Thrones, because I mean this universe is working. These cinematic universes on TV are kind of hitting right now. The Boys and Gen V, the Game of Thrones hot D to Seven Kingdoms to Aegon the Conqueror series that's also in the works. And then they're going to do one about the doom of Valeria and the princess who escaped and established Dorne called 10,000 Ships. So like, yeah, man, this is all, it's still hitting. And as a final part of that report, we found out season 3 is going to start shooting early next year. So we're not going to be waiting 15 million years between House of the Dragon seasons again. So thank God. All right.
I have a question. Does this series and the spinoff series, the next one, do those all hit and complete before Martin actually gets it's the last book out? You're gonna put we got to put a number, we got to bet whether or not that actually happens or not.
I mean, at this point, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just ridiculous at this point. I mean, at this point, it's okay. It's hard to get back to a typewriter when you've gone full Hollywood. Just tell them, yeah, the show got it. That's what it is, and just keep going. Because I've heard theories that, based on the finale, there's now this running theory because the vision that Daemon saw didn't have Jon Snow in it; it had Dany. So now they're thinking that Martin's gonna do this whole other thing for Dany, that the show, basically justice for Dany. She'll be the prince that was promised. Everything will happen. She'll have some different ending. Probably get sacrificed heroically. It won't be like the show because he saw how that worked out. So
the ending of the show will somehow influence the book now, and that's probably what people who are kind of purists about the books didn't want, I imagine, because they wanted whatever his original vision was.
Yeah, no, but that's gone, guys. That's gone. There's so much money. Yo, we were there when Game of Thrones started. This was back when I was at Screen Rant, and it was one of the first Comic Cons I went to when that show really kicked off, 2011, something like that. And I saw, this was early, and we were in the Hilton Bayfront, and you could still approach George R.R. Martin because he was still just getting, the fantasy, the book conventions knew him, but Comic-Con didn't. And he was just sitting at a table with a PR person, and you could approach him. And I sat down at a table with him, and that's the first thing I said to that dude. I was like, how are you going to type that fast? How are you going to write this fast? I just came out of grad school for writing a manuscript, and I've been working on one for 2 years. How are you going to do this? And he was like, oh, well, I blah, blah. We should pull up that recording because I think I recorded it. Man, I was just everything he said at the time, he got up and I was like, yeah, nah. Excuse me. Nah, he's not going to be able to do this.
And it didn't.
Oh, no, I was dead right. I was dead right on that one. But we will be following this series. It's already taken off. It's so just at the forefront of pop culture right now. So there it is. We're locked in. All right. So, oh boy, let's get to it. We got so much stuff to kind of schlock through today. I do want to leave stuff time for the end. So let's get into it. Matt, Umbrella Academy. The Umbrella Academy is back, but they're also leaving us. Why are you leaving us, Daddy? Wow. Yeah. What did you think? Where are you with Umbrella Academy? Because we threw this on here because it's what's out this week, but it was interesting to jump back in. I realized I did not finish the last season.
Oh, wow. Okay. So because we haven't really gone in like deep with this show since like season 2, I think was kind of the last. We didn't really dive into season 3 on here kind of as we did with like seasons 1 and 2. So for me, those who've kind of followed my like interactions with the show, I've been a little hard on Umbrella Academy because I enjoyed season 1 quite a bit. And then I felt like in season 2 and season 3, we did the same exact show. We like tweaked like 3 things and then we did the exact same show. It was get everybody together. And then it was, hey, we're all like dysfunctional and stuff. Then we kind of meet some different timeline things. And then we try and stop at a pocket. Like it felt so, and I know it's not, and I don't mean to discredit anyone or, you know, the skill and things that go into this. I know it's not cut and paste, but the overall effect for me felt like that. It felt like, oh my God, we're just doing the same show over and over again every single season, which is why season 4, I went in with kind of low expectations a little bit, admittedly. And I came away, I think this is my favorite season since season 1. I'd have to go back. It's been a while since I've seen season 1, so I'd have to go back and see like which one I enjoy more. I imagine it would probably be season 1, but I really enjoy this. And the reason why is because it feels like we were actually doing something different. Yes, it still ties into the apocalypse themes and some of those other stuff that's been kind of core to the series. And we are getting, you know, we do have people kind of off the board that we're getting back together. There is aspects of that in the season 2. So there are similarities for sure. But I felt like they actually did some different things here. They stayed true to the quirkiness of the characters and really not, you know, a lot of the characters don't really like each other a whole bunch, and that comes through. I thought the addition of the villains here, Nick Offerman, and oh my God, I'm blanking on her name.
Megan Mullally.
Karen from Will and Grace. Thank you. They're delightful in that role, and I think they're a great addition because any scene they're in, they just pop and it interacts really well with like, especially like Five and Lily and stuff. So I think I really enjoyed the season. I think that if you try and stare too hard at the timey-wimey stuff, you will like it. Some of it doesn't make sense. And I'm just trying, like, there is a little bit of like having to cable this and suspend your disbelief a bit and go, I'm not going to look at that too hard. Because some stuff just like runs together a little bit. But as a season of the show and as an ending, I actually really dug the ending because I thought, I won't get into spoilers because it just came out, but I just thought it stayed true to like who these characters are in a satisfying way. And for people who have been with the show since the beginning, I thought, hey, it's it pays homage to that in a good way. So I think as a send-off season, the show went out on a high note. I can totally understand though how some aren't feeling it, but this was easily my favorite since the first season.
I'm weirdly with you. I'm not through it all. It's going to take me a little bit longer to get through it. I'm still not as high on it. But this was my favorite season since season 1 as well. The first episode I thought was really good at just getting us back to basics. It's not until episode 2 that like the high concept stuff starts to really kick in. Season 1's just all kind of status quo, and it reestablished what I liked about the show in the beginning, which is the cast and their banter and their chemistry and the quirky kind of weird tone of the show, like you said. And I like that. I think season 4 is a mixed bag for me. I'm about 3 episodes in so far. Like, I like Nick Offerman and Megan Mullally, and yes, as some of the commenters are saying, yes, they're married in real life. Those are a real life couple. And they're hilarious. And so like seeing them in here is great. I think that this season, I think what's kind of straining people is that some of the C and D plots are to the point where it's just, we've strained this show. We've given everybody so many plot lines, and so every season, that was kind of where season 2 went off the rails. It's like everybody had these deep, dramatic, like period piece plot lines from race to politics. It was nuts. And we were like, man, this is things like we don't care about all these C and D characters, E and F characters. Plus, we don't care, like splitting you guys up and doing separate storylines is the worst thing for this show. And that's where I think even when you did season 3 in the Sparrow Academy, it was still, yeah, they had the Sparrows, but it was still splitting the people up into groups and being like, we're mad at each other, and like kind of splitting up and doing that whole nine. And it's like, that's not the strength of the show. Them in a van and doing sequences like that and you know, the vomiting and stuff, that's where this show really shines. And so I feel like this season they get back to more scenes of them together in groupings and making things fun that way. And it just feels like more involved with all of them in it. And so I'm glad. I mean, I know this show had to do seasons 2 and 3 through the COVID years. And so that probably dictated some of what we got. But like, yeah, it's good to see everybody together and kind of getting that weird, quirky, bantery kind of dysfunctional family thing back, because that's what made this different. It was like, what if the X-Men, you know, were just dysfunctional siblings? And like, you know, that was kind of raised by a kind of whacked out Charles Xavier. And so this has been, yeah, I like that part of it. But yeah, still kind of a mixed bag. But, you know, it's good to see Umbrella Academy at least ending on a stronger note. But yeah, and the new cast members, you got David Cross is coming in, like, yeah, Nick Offerman, Megan Milani, like the people they add are just, they're pretty good. And like, you got real heavy hitter, funny people in here. So yeah, so you know, good to see the Umbrella Academy getting a final run. That was like, look at that, we were kind of positive right there. We're kind of positive. All right, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, then we're going to really go off in the second half. I finally get to talk about Borderlands and then Matt's agenda. We got a full lineup of Matt's agenda. Matt's just going to run through, and then we talk shop. We got to talk about IRL stuff, kids. So stay tuned for all of that. We are Comic Book Nation. All right, so the anointed time has come. Finally discuss Borderlands. Borderlands. All right, let's talk Borderlands, yo. Okay, if you already know, if you're listening to this, probably you've already heard, or maybe you didn't, that Borderlands, which is based on the video game called Hit video game series, is out, and director Eli Roth made this adaptation, and Lionsgate put it out. And so here's the backstory. Before Comic-Con, you know, we have a suite at Comic-Con. We have to interview tons of people. So Lionsgate PR, who are wonderful, by the way, shout out to Lionsgate PR. They do so, and sometimes like this unthinkable job of selling these things and having to go out there and put the best foot forward. But they were kind enough to do a screening for the comic book staff who were going to Comic-Con here in Nashville. So it was only about 7 or 8 of us. We got to go in the middle of the day to a movie theater, see this. And yeah, I was excited because the trailers made it look at least fun, like great cast. You know, it was coming out on my birthday. This was going to be like my birthday watch. Yeah. Whoo. Now, guys, I've done this a long time. There's few occasions when a movie starts when I'm just like, oh my God, we are so effed. and this was definitely one of them. Within the first 10 minutes, we started. Brandon Davis was sitting behind me. Joe Schmidt, head of video. Oh my God, John was sitting in front of me. Jill, some other people, Chris Killian. We were all in the theater, and we all just started looking at each other to make sure each of us wasn't having an individual stroke, and being like, "You're seeing this, right? Like, we're all seeing this," and everybody was just like, "Uh, yeah, we're seeing this." And brief overview: there was a lot of us just looking at each other, cracking up, not with the movie, at the movie constantly. People were saying lines that were about to be said out loud, like they're going to say blah, blah, blah. And then it was just like, we all just were cracking up at some random cameo appearances that happened in this movie. And we were just like, why? Why did you do this? Yeah, I got up twice and left. And as the other comic book staffers will tell you, they thought I had left. The first time I just went out and did the sad Pablo walk in the hallway of the Opryland movie theater, which is a very long hallway. If you know my Narcos reference, I was just doing that sad Pablo meme, just my head down, walking, stopping to tie my shoe, just kind of being like, what is life and what have I chose to do with my life? Then I came back in. I looked up somewhere about 2/3 through the movie. I looked at my phone and I was like, I got to know how long this is. And so I went on IMDb and looked and realized we had about 40 minutes left. And I was like, oh. So I was like, we got up and just walked out, and I walked out and I went to the refreshment stand. I was like, I got me some refreshments. I got me some popcorn. I was just like, if I got to be here for 40 minutes, I need to stroke my pleasure centers like in my brain somehow, some way. So I just got myself some nice popcorn and I sat back, but I nearly choked on it, still laughing at the craziness of this movie, because the third act, man, they fired up the PS3 and were like, yo, let's put together a third act. And, the CGI, the action, everything that happens is straight PS3 level CGI and stuff. Oh, man, it's anybody wondering, this is definitely up for Razzie of the Year. The entire cast is up for Razzie of the Year. There's some uncomfortable performances. Jamie Lee Curtis, for some reason, does like an autism-coded scientist for some reason. No real explanation of why, or why she just decides to act weird in this and that way. Cate Blanchett, true scenery and has fun. She's always a goddess. Good for, her. Yeah. Kevin Hart actually plays a serious action role, which I don't know if it was just a pandemic time or what. Like, don't ever do that again. We don't ever want to see that again. We don't want to see that. Like,
well, wait, Kevin Hart. Didn't he do the Netflix movie? What was it? Lift? Was it Lift? What was that movie? I like that movie. He kind of played the same. Thing, but I'm guessing that didn't translate here.
As Roland from Borderlands, Big Roland. The whole movie is about how not Big Roland, how he's the shortest. The first line is from Ariana Greenblatt, who I know, like, I'm sure if some adult site had called her and been like, we are going to release a tape of you or Borderlands, she would have been like, put out the tape. Just put out the tape. Like, because it's been less damaging to her career than this. I'm not kidding. The girl was on a streak with what? Barbie, Infinity War scene, was young Gamora, young Ahsoka episode. She was, on fire.
She's fantastic.
Terrible look for her. It's such a bad look for her in this role. It's just bad. And I'm telling you, I'm sure she cried to her agent and was like, put that in a vault. Because this was filmed like 2 years ago, man. This was like, this was made a long time ago. And it's really, really bad. I can't stress this enough. The whole cast is going to get Razzie nominations. Eli Roth is definitely getting a Razzie nomination. Look, you put Eli Roth on the right thing, like, it can be very even just pulpy, trashy, entertaining. This is not it. It's not even like pulpy and trashy and fun in a fun way. This is Guardians of the Galaxy, as if they thought, hey, if we were just a little edgier than Marvel making Guardians of the Galaxy, we could, we're going to knock it out of the park. Spoilers. they didn't knock it out of the park. Jack Black as the robot. Everything in this, I think the best comment was made by John Mason, our head of video, which he had all bangers. And by the way, we were one of the first to give reactions to this. So the publicists had to send them in to Lionsgate. And when we were at Comic-Con, Lionsgate reached out to us to tell us how hilarious they had found it in the office, like just reading through the crazy amount of stuff we said. Because it was just free flow. We stood by the publicist for literally about 15 minutes because all of us were just like in a state of shock and just were like just rattling off like how we felt about this movie. And John Mason, head of video, said this movie looks like this movie is like one of those parody movies you would see in another movie or a TV show, like playing in celebrity cameos and stuff. Like, and that is dead on what this movie is. This movie is if somebody seriously presented you with one of those parody movies in like a 30 Rock episode, and we're like, but for real though. And you were like, no, not for real though. And they were like, no, but for real though. And you were like, you are not a serious person. It's crazy. And as Distance Nerding, shout out to Distance Nerding Podcast, points out, in a year where we got Fallout and this.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. As I said in my tweet,
I mean, geez, we got Knuckles.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, but that's the thing. Video game adaptations have been on such a hot streak, and this one sets it back at least. I was kind in my tweet and saying 10 years, but it's really 20. It's really like Assassin's Creed, like early 2000s, Prince of Persia. Like we're back to that level. Like, yeah.
God, Doom.
Yeah.
The Rock's Doom. Yeah.
I've watched Doom. I would rather watch Doom 1,000 times. I'd rather watch Resident Evil 1 a million times than ever.
Oh man. Okay, so that brings up an interesting point, right? Because and I've seen it a lot in the comments, right? Of like worse, like this is a contender, right? So we also got Madam Web this year, and currently, Borderlands now sits at a 6% on the Rotten Tomatoes critics. It has a 48% audience. Madam Web has an 11% critics and a 57% audience. Is like Borderlands the clear? Because I mean, I feel like that's its number one contender, right? Is Madam Web and this?
I've already rewatched Madam Web, and I was like, I'm more okay with this on the second watch. Okay. I'm gonna rewatch Madam Web sometimes, just because it's funny and hilarious to see like how crazy that movie is. That's like bad in a good way I can enjoy. This is not. This is physically like, people have come out and all said like this is a physically painful movie to watch. You are just like, it hurts you. It hurts your brain. You're just like, I know every line that's coming out is going to be this cheesy, just joke and bad thing, and like every turn, and it's also so goddamn boring. We go to all these colorful places, all these different set pieces, and it's all so boring. It's so boring. Oh my God, you're just like, please get me out of here. Such a bummer.
I love Borderlands, and like Tiny Tina's one of the best characters in the franchise. How do you stir that up?
Yeah, it's just like they have all the Borderlands stuff there, like, and you think it would just be able to get weird with being like Borderlands, but it's not. It's generic. It's kind of, like I said, it's like a generic Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff. If they thought like, if we just make edgier jokes or have aliens that piss in the car, like we're driving through an alien toilet and we keep getting pissed on, like that's going to be edgier and funnier, and Marvel can't do that. So we are going to do that. So that's kind of what we're working with here. It's a lot of Kevin Hart is short jokes, pissing alien jokes, sex jokes, all this stuff. And everybody's asking, it was written and directed by Eli Roth with help by Joe Crombie. And I don't know what else Joe Crombie has worked on. But this is an Eli Roth product through and through. Like through and through. So, yeah. And yes, as people are pointing out, so some anecdotes about this film. Obviously, it was incredibly awkward to promote it at Comic-Con. because it was a lot of this is what I love about the industry, and we don't get to do so many of those big press things. That's a whole other story, but like everybody's sitting there, you're sitting there with the talent when that happens, and you're both looking at each other and you both know what we all saw. Like everybody knows, like, the old turd's just sitting there on the table, but everybody's acting like they can't smell a thing, but we all have to sit there like that. And so kind of it was an anxious anxiety stroking about how we were going to do these interviews and who was going to take it and how we were going to approach this. Because one wrong question and it's just like, suck. This sucks. So the Borderlands cast and Lionsgate PR, again, shout out to Lionsgate PR for being, creative as hell. They decided to just do pranks on people, and
they killed it with that.
And have earpieces in while some of the actors would be in the room, and some of the other people would be in the control booth feeding them awkward lines to say to the interviewers. And poor Brandon Davis, he described it to us, but when you see the finished video, it is fantastic. They came in and basically pranked BD by starting to have Kevin Hart, act like he was freaking out about Comic-Con and germs and shaking hands, screaming that he was a brony, and then having him get in an argument with, I think, Florian Mutinu, as who plays the crazy psycho Krieg. Him being like, Kevin, you ain't an action star. Kevin being like, what are you talking about? And then starting to get in a fight about whether which is a very real thing that I'm sure happened after this movie. I'm sure Kevin Hart looked at his career and was like, yeah, let's go back to doing other things than this. But kind of doing that in front of Brandon, and you should see Brandon's face. Go check out our comic book Instagram page, because he's just hearing this and he's like, oh my God. And he thinks like this cast is like really melting down in front of him. Then Jamie Lee Curtis and Eli Roth come in and they just start adding more fuel to the fire. Be like, no, Kevin, like you're not an action star, like blah, blah, blah. And Brandon's like, oh my God. He's like, wants to jump off the couch. And so it's a great, they did a great job and we got a great interview out of it. So again, shout out to Lionsgate PR for really knowing how to turn these things around and make it fun for the cast, the crew. Anything. Now, my story is a lot more dark. So I was staying in the Hard Rock Hotel for Comic-Con, which is across the street from the venue. And my side of the hotel where my room was directly over the venues where all the parties happen. So the rooftop party, the club party that's in like the little club in the Hard Rock. My room was directly over this. So my elevator was the elevator that goes like all the way up to like the big penthouses where they put all the special people, all the way down to the club at the bottom floor. So at different times throughout Comic-Con, I would come back to my hotel and the security guards would just rope off the entrance to our elevator and start screaming at us that talent was taking over the elevator and we were not allowed. And we had to walk all the way around to the back end of the hotel to this back elevator, take it up to the floor, then walk all the way around back the floor to our rooms. Okay. And so this happened on a day where I had to hustle back. I had to do a bunch of stuff. And in the middle of Comic-Con, like I'm sure Matt knows, you're like, as a press person, you're like running from like interviews to panels to this to that. And by the time you get back to the hotel, you're dripping in sweat and you need to go upstairs, use the bathroom, take a shower, get maybe some food in you if you possibly can before you have a whole host of other things to do. You also have to sometimes, write all this up and do a bunch of stuff. So I was not in the happiest of places when I got back, and they shut down our elevators and pinned us to the wall for a minute. And the guy's screaming at us, and I hear him go over the radio, and he's like, we got the Borderlands cast. We got talent coming down for the next half hour. This elevator is shut off, boy. Woo! You should have heard me. Like, I just went off. I was like, Borderlands? Talent? This is what you're shutting down the elevator for? This is what you're shutting down my elevator for? The talent of Borderlands? Oh, man. Somebody said Philly Kofi came out. Yeah, Brywood. Oh, the accent came out, everything. I was just going off. I couldn't... The words, like, I started to glitch out. I was like, talent, Borderlands, talent, Borderlands, talent.
Practice.
Like, yeah, I was just like, I can't take this. I was like, I don't believe I'm standing, that this movie has me standing in a lobby, dripping sweat, pinned to a wall because of this movie. And I'm not disrespecting anybody in the movie because I think they're all better than this. Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Hart. I love Jack Black, Kate Blanchett, like I said, Goddess, Ariana Greenblatt, kid's way more talented. So I'm not even disparaging the talent of the actors. I was just, again, the concept that this was all being done for Borderlands was hilarious to me. But that's what you could do in the weeks before a movie comes out. Now it's here.
Now that elevator ain't getting held.
Now that elevator is just a ghost town of rolling dust balls. Yeah. But true story, and you can go check this on Instagram. Poor Jennifer Garner. Same elevator, when they tried to bring her down, got stuck. She was stuck in there for an hour and 11 minutes, and she documented it all on her Instagram. That is the Hard Rock Hotel elevator. And AMC, shout out to AMC Networks, had done a takeover of the elevators. And so they had pasted all the floors and walls in as an old-timey kind of elevator to promote Interview with a Vampire. But they just basically rolled like that weird fly trappy smelling glue across the whole elevator and then like put up paper, you know. And so those things all smelled like this weird glue smell that frankly smelled like caca, you know. It smelled really not pleasant. And poor Jennifer Garner was, you know, on Electra weekend was stuck in that poor elevator. It's on her Instagram. Go check that out. You can even find a comment from me just shouting out what a trooper she was, because she didn't go mad from the glue smell, which I clearly would have. I would have gone mad. Oh my God. So yeah, shout out to the Hard Rock, shout out to Borderlands and the elevator systems for talent. Yeah, this was all for Borderlands, man. All right. So yeah, if I have to give it, I agree. 0 out of 10 stars. Like, worst movie of the year, maybe worst movie of the decade so far. Quite possibly.
Wow.
2020s, yeah. Quite possibly the worst movie of the decade.
Oh boy.
So far.
Oh, you know what? We need to do that list.
Oh, yeah, we can.
There's a countdown. That's what we need to do.
Yeah. No, guys, I'm not normally I could say, the caveat, like go out, go out. You might enjoy it if no, man, you get, if you like movies, this is gonna hurt you. Don't do it. Go see something else. All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. I got it all out. I think I'm done. I've had this on my chest for so many weeks now.
Oh my God.
Matt, it's your agenda. Please take it away.
Well, I had a much better experience at Gen Con than the elevator gate at Comic-Con. Yeah, so I was at Gen Con covering the for last week, and it was a great show. I got to listen and watch after the fact. Guys always do amazing stuff, right? But I was of course bummed because I love the show and I love being a part of it. But I was covering the biggest stateside tabletop convention there is. There's only one bigger, and it's in Germany. So Gen Con is huge. It somehow grows every single year, even though the building doesn't change. More and more people come, and I got a chance to check out a bunch of great things that, due to the chaos of this week, some of that stuff has yet to go up, but a lot of coverage will be following soon from the convention, and also on our Comic Book Nation YouTube. And one of the things I wanted to shout out real quick is an interview that will be hitting there either today or tomorrow, sometime in the very near future, is an interview with the designer and members of the Spin Master team for Comic Hunters, a game that I have been very excited. Fans, this game has been around for actually several years internationally, but it was only available outside of the States. There were some, things that prevented it from being able to be published over here. Finally, Spin Master, Arcane Wonders, some great companies got together and were able to finally publish the game stateside. Made its big debut at Gen Con. We have a full interview that will be up soon, coverage on the game. I finally have a copy sitting over here. I'm very excited about it. Uses the Marvel license. It is very much kind of a love letter to comic fans. Like, you're actually assembling comics from the golden era of Marvel to more current things, you know, things like Civil War are in there, and you're like assembling different characters. There's a bunch of Marvel characters in the game. One of the ways you actually acquire cards is like you can go to the comic store, you can actually go to the flea market and get like certain different comics are available different places. You can even go to Comic-Con convention and get comics. So it really is kind of, we talk about comics all the time on the pull list, and here this is very much a love letter to that. It's finally out. We'll have a full review and stuff, but whenever that interview is live on the Comic Book Nation YouTube, please go check that out. A game I was very excited to actually see that we didn't actually even know they were demoing it until we actually got to Gen Con was Mass Effect. There's a new Mass Effect board game coming from Modiphius, and got to see how that plays a little bit. Didn't actually get to test it out myself, unfortunately, because there was one table with it and it was always full. But one of the things I'm very excited about, it's a co-op game. It's kind of takes place around the time of Mass Effect 3. And you're actually working like it has kind of part of the OG crew, right? So it has Shepard. You can actually play as male or female Shepard. It has Rex, Liara, Tali, and Garrus, I believe, are the full crew you can play as. They're fully cooperative. One of the kind of ingenious mechanics is that you actually, the first person rolls like 12 dice, and you're kind of rolling for everybody's turn, right? So if you have like 4 players, right? Like that first player gets to pick 3 dice and do things according to their actions and things like that. You can manipulate the dice. And then the last person in the turn order kind of only has 3 to pick from, but then the next turn you get to be the one that kind of controls everything. So it's trying to kind of give you limited options depending on where you're on the player order, but you then get a bonus the next round. Really interesting thing. The Paragon system is in there fully. You can make certain decisions based on whether you're a Paragon or Renegade. So for Mass Effect fans, this very much seems like, again, another love letter to those mechanics. So I'm very excited to actually play that, but you'll be able to see full coverage of my time with the demo on Comic Book. Another game is Speed Colors. I was very excited for this. This is a game I tried to test out a lot of family games as well, because everyone knows I play games with Ember and Anissa when she'll actually like jump to the table for a little bit. But me and Ember play a lot of games. Speed Colors is if you're looking for a game to play with your kids, this is actually perfect. The cards are fully like laminated, and it comes with dry erase markers. So like it's literally you flip the card, you see the different areas that should be different colors, and then once both people are okay with flipping them over, you can't turn it back around, and you have to do it by memory. You fill it in, you get points for filling in regardless of whether the color's right, but then you get extra points for actually doing it accurately, and then it kind of moves the game forward that way. Really simple premise. Builds in coloring, which is great for kids and something that a lot of kids like to do anyway. So even if you're not playing the game, they can still have fun with it. And it's also relatively on like the cheap side. So that is Friendly Skeleton is publishing that one, and very excited for that. I actually have a copy as well that I'll have like full impressions of. Me and Munchkin have already gone through the game a little bit, and it was a success. So excited for that. Wandering Galaxy, Plaid Hat's recent Kickstarter game. I talked about this I think like a month ago when it launched, but now I actually got to spend some time with the game, and my God, like we talk a lot about here about, you know, like TV shows and movies kind of reeling you in, and especially like animation with voice acting. The voice acting in this game, like you're being told a story. All the characters have unique personalities and quirks, and it's just the voice acting is like phenomenal in these games, and this one is no different. And you're essentially just playing this big sci-fi adventure, and it's a cooperative adventure. And like other Crossroad games, like everyone has a role on the ship, so depending on the player count, you might play several roles, you know, like someone's like the pilot, or someone's like, you know, the person who's dealing with the weapons and making sure they're loaded. Another person's managing supplies and things like that. You have all these different things. Someone's in the lab working on R&D. It's really cool. It kind of gives that big sci-fi ship crew vibe, but then you're getting a full story with these like creative character designs, and it's fantastic. So I came away just like, I knew I was going to love it anyway, but it was fantastic from my experience with it. The Gang is a game that I did not, you know, I've played poker. I play poker. I feel like everybody and their brother went through a poker phase at one time where you were playing just a lot of poker, Texas Hold'em or whatever. It was really popular for a minute there. So everyone, I feel like, went through a phase there. And I did as well. This is cool. This is Cosmos' take on cooperative poker. Like, it's cooperative Texas Hold'em. And you're all trying to win, right? But you're all also working together essentially to figure out who has the high and low suit. And so you go through like 3 rounds of kind of bidding on who you think has the better suit. And so you're trying to like read other people, look at like the drop and what's happening on the board with the face cards, because they're turning over just like you would in regular Texas Hold'em. And you're trying to judge your own pair or your own hand and stuff. It is really interesting. Like, I did not see myself really I don't go towards a lot of kind of more traditional card centric games like that when they're actually dealing with, like, you know, poker and things like that. This floored me, and it's like super easy to teach. It was immensely popular there. I think this will end up taking off really well. I will hopefully get like more time with that soon, but it really stuck with me. Another one was from Smirk and Dagger, Hi-Fi. So Hi-Fi is a game where you are this old group called the Meeples, which is like the best name, is finally like reuniting because they left this one album unfinished. And now they've reunited to try and finish the album. They're doing the B-side of this record. That right there that you're seeing for the video watchers, that right there is the board. It is actually a fully recreated record player, and you actually like move the handle and do like, that's how you select actions. You're like moving the turntable. It's all like, it's so thematic and also part of the actual function of the game. And then there's like a Rolling Stone magazine recreation that's like the rule book. This thing takes like theme to a whole new level, but it's also like super, there's real strategy there. You're working with other people to try and to work together to make the record complete, but you're also trying to contribute more than everybody else, so you come out the winner. So it's kind of this mix of cooperative and competitive gameplay. Super cool. I'm jazzed about this. I can't wait to actually have that in my hands. Sonic Speed Battle. I just want to say, I think it was here a quick save where I talked about, it was quick save because it was with our wonderful one of our gaming writers, Mark. I talked about Sonic, and I talked about how my favorite character, other than Knuckles in the Sonic franchise, is Big the Cat, and how Big the Cat is underrepresented. And if you notice in this picture for our video watchers, look, it's Big the Cat. Big the Cat's in this game, and that alone makes it worth checking out. Sonic Speed Battle has, I'm not kidding, a ton of Sonic characters, like way past the ones where it's like the top 5. It goes way deep in the Sonic lore, but Big the Cat's there, has a special skill. It's an automatic win for me. Okay, I'm just telling you. And Big the Cat is underrated. Okay, one of the last things here, Justice League Dark from Cryptozoic. They were showing off the DC deck building game expansion for Justice League Dark. Detective Chimp, my boy, got represented here in that set as well. This is, again, for the Justice League Dark fans, this is like a no-brainer, especially if you're already playing the DC deck building game. It really looks cool. They add some new mechanics. Super cool. However, one of the things they pointed out was that they actually have a new Kickstarter coming soon. I think it actually launches in September. Arkham Asylum with Joker and Harley on the box art. We don't know much else about that, but that'll be coming soon. So again, the game is going strong and getting more releases. In that vein, I wanted to shout out Unmatched, a wonderful series of games. Unmatched Adventures is doing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, and they are coming to Kickstarter later this year as well. That game was not available to demo, but they did have a showcase for it, showing the TMNT miniatures, an awesome looking shredder, look at the box art and things like that. Again, I'll have a lot of the stuff published on Comic Book and things when, you know, I'm actually able to actively write on the site whenever that happens. But it already looks super promising. The Unmatched series is amazing about mixing different franchises together, and TMNT should be no different. I'm very excited for that, so watch our site for more coverage on that. Last but not least, I wanted to mention something that Kofi will appreciate. Universe's showcased their Attack on Titan set at Gen Con in a big way. They actually had a bunch of, promo cards, first look at the set and things like that. But this is essentially a super crossover fighting game, 1v1 fighting game where you're able to mix a bunch of different franchises. And the two franchises they were really highlighting at the show was Godzilla, which recently brought their pack, and then Attack on Titan. But they also have Tekken coming. They also have I believe there was one more set that I was going to highlight and I'm blanking on what that set was. But they've already have a ton of like My Hero Academia as part of that whole world. So they're doing a lot. You can actually mix and match all of those. So you can literally have a game where your one side has like a Godzilla deck and it's playing against an Attack on Titan deck. That's actually pretty sweet. And then last but not least, I wanted to jump into a review. So that was Gen Con, but again, that was like a handful of the games that I saw and played. So we will have more coming to Comic Book shortly. But one thing I did want to jump into a review is a game we actually talked about previously, which is The Mandalorian Adventures. This is a up to 4-player cooperative game where you're playing through the first season of The Mandalorian. And so you actually have one of 7, you can play one of 7 characters from the show, like, Grief Karga's in there, IG is in there. You can play mix and match, play whoever you want. And you're kind of going through different scenarios from the story. As you can see for our video watchers, the child at this point, he wasn't Grogu yet, right? So the child is represented there in his own miniature, but also like he's reflected in the game because at some points in the story, you are having to carry him. And like, if you get hit, things like that, he will get separated from you and run off. So you're having to go track him down and then come back and get to the end goal, right? It's really thematic in that way and working with the show. Everybody has their own unique deck. And everyone has their own unique skill and ability. So everyone feels different. But what's really cool about this game is that it rewards replay, but it doesn't penalize you. And it's always actually making you more powerful. So like, let's say you play the first mission and you fail. There's a whole deck that is called the guide deck that regardless of whether you win or fail in a scenario, you go and you turn that card over and it tells you, hey, add these bunch of cards to your next play. And your personal deck for these characters is always growing. You're always getting more powerful cards. You're always adding more complexity to the missions and things like that you're doing. So you are always becoming more powerful whether you succeed or fail. And as you're moving through these stories, you're always upgrading. You can take out there's a whole like 2 envelope thing that adds like a whole other mechanic to the game as you keep going. So it's always kind of throwing something else new at you. And even if you played the same mission 10 times, you're approaching it in a different way because now you have new cards. And also you don't feel like you're penalized for just not, acclimating so quickly, especially of the first few games. You're always getting new skills. It's a really cool way it's done that. The production values fantastic. Everything's done in this like storybook, and they have like a full kind of comic that shows you where you are in the story. My only drawback is like there's only 4 core maps. So while you can move a bunch of stuff around and play those in different ways and with different characters and things like that, there is a little bit of a ceiling with like the amount of replayability that you can get, especially with just because those are the 4 maps and their layout is exactly the same. So I do hope that at some point, we get like an expansion that adds like a whole other, a book and maybe another set of maps to really spice things up a bit. But the gameplay itself is really fun, really rewarding. It does, like, you have to work together, otherwise you will fail, especially with some of the later missions. You will just get overwhelmed. So I really came away loving this game, and I think fans of Star Wars and Mandalorian who maybe don't dab into the board game stuff very often should definitely give this a chance, because I think it's super approachable. And it's for a fan as well. So that's my review there. That is my agenda this week. A lot there, sorry. To bore you. No, now let's get to the thing everyone's been waiting for, the tea.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about some tea here. So, yeah, have you been watching the Olympics, Matt?
I have not. All I've heard about the Olympics is Snoop Dogg. All I keep hearing is Snoop. And Snoop is great. Snoop is killing it. That's all I hear about the Olympics.
Oh man. All right. So you've not watched the Olympics, really?
No.
This is the grenade today? The Olympics? Oh
What?
man, we
No.
almost made it.
The
oh my
Olympics has
God,
never
that's
been my
crazy.
thing. I mean, I just never.
Oh, then you were
I never
crazy.
have. I never have.
I'm calling child services for Ember. Like you have not showed her. You have not showed her gymnastics. Simone Biles.
No, she's seen gymnastics. She watches wrestling.
All right. Okay. A female wrestler.
See what I did there? See what I did there?
A female wrestler just became an Olympic star. She hasn't seen that? Oh, man. Like, yeah, that female wrestler tore it up for America, man. You got oh, man, this is crazy. I didn't know this was going to be the grenade. I thought we were getting out. I was just doing like a funny lead-in. I was like, somebody asked in the comments and was like, of course we've been watching the Olympics. Get out of here. And then Matt had to hit me with that grenade. I'd come in blasting. Yeah, no, the Olympics has been great, man. I mean, I've loved it. Swimming from Katie Ledecky, our men's swimming, not so hot. From track and field to Noah Lyles and Kenny and everybody in the track and field that stepped up. America's been killing it there. The female runners have been crazy this year. Jamaica, I don't know what's going on. The Yardies are having a hard Olympics this year. Seeing the kind of alternative sports kind of that have been taken off. Like seeing female wrestling kind of take off and really kind of be a big factor this year. High jumpers and shot putters in the field. I was a discus thrower. I was a district competing discus thrower and seeing.
Were you really?
Field game. Oh yes, wow. I was. I was a district competitor. I got washed. I didn't come in last, but I didn't come in first for sure. So, but I was a practicing discus thrower for many years. So I will Captain America your ass. Don't try to run. I will Captain America.
I threw shot put for 1 year.
Oh man, I tried it. I was like, I wasn't like, I'm stocky, but I wasn't stocky enough. I didn't have like the inner bulk. Those big men.
Oh, that's all I had was stocky.
Yeah, like you gotta throw that thing around. You gotta throw that.
That's
thing
all
around.
I had.
So
they looked at me and went, "What can he do?" Oh, I'll throw a big giant ball. Yeah, that's what he can do.
But surfing, skateboarding, tennis, rugby, like it's amazing to see how worldwide sports have gotten. I was even up at one point watching cricket, and I was like, this India team is gonna wash you guys. Synchronized swimming, or what is it called? I forget. They changed the name of synchronized swimming this year. It's now performative swimming or something like that. Still, those ladies are cooking under the water. You see all those held breaths and stuff. I'm like, gives me anxiety, man. So all the traditional favorites have been there: track and field, gymnastics, swimming every week, and it's easy to watch. But seeing the second and third tier sports kind of really get people's interest and find fandoms this year is really from everything. I'm talking table tennis, fencing. Everything has been spotlighted, and shout out to NBC and shout out to Peacock, because this is how you do it. This is how you use your streaming service, mountains of entertainment, to kind of, do something good, which is that, we just warm it up. But just to have it, you can go on Peacock and you could watch the or NBC and watch the Olympics live during the day, when it's happening in France, or come back for the primetime cut at night. And you could pick and choose your poison on the day. And Peacock had wonderful features like multi-view, where you could watch 4 Olympic screen things happening at once in small view, and then click on the one you wanted to, whichever one really grabbed you, you could watch, so you could be aware of all the stuff that was happening at once, and then be like, tonight I'm actually liking this crazy men's water polo match is sick. I'm going to keep watching this. And, you just tap that screen and, they've done a great job covering the Olympics in the digital streaming age.
Wow.
And making it a 24/7 resource that I've just, at any time of day, I can, while I'm working, whatever, just go in, put on, again, multi-view, or just laying out interfaces that clearly tell me what's on right now, what I can replay from the highlights, if I miss something, and doing all that. I was up last night watching men's basketball. The Serbians came for us. But Steph Curry and them, LeBron. And
that is the one thing I do pay attention to.
Oh,
I do pay attention to the
Serbians
Team
came.
USA.
It was like Rocky IV up in there.
That's true.
And we came back, USA.
Yeah.
But I've been watching the Olympics. I'm an Olympics head. winter and summer. And my wife and I have been together for 25 years. We've been counting how many Olympics we've run down. It's crazy. But yeah, we are a massive pro Olympic household. The kids have been like, let's watch this, man. Get that duck movie. Get Migration out of here. We're watching only Peacock doing this running Olympics. No, I don't say it often, but I do have an autistic daughter who's obsessed with Migration. I took her to see it this year, and I thought, you never know how much sinks in. But then now I spend most of my time recreating Danny DeVito's parts of those movie that she makes me do, the Uncle Dan sequences.
I need to watch it. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my God. Oh, Migration. Great. I mean, it's fun. Yeah. And shout out to the culture around the Olympics. France has been really good. Snoop Dogg's been killing it, man. Snoop Dogg is a new world ambassador. It's crazy to see. Like somebody, it's like somebody sent me a meme. Somebody sent me a meme. It was like a picture of a very stern looking woman. It was like my mom grounding me. It was a friendly looking woman on the phone. It was like my mom calling me to tell me how much she loves Snoop Dogg on the Olympics. And then like underneath it was a stern looking woman, like in a dark door frame. And it was like my mother grounding me for buying his CD. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude went from giving out gin and juice to American Spirit.
Yeah. Crazy, man. Crazy. Yeah. So I've been loving the Olympics. All right. So that's what we wanted to talk about this week. That's been the tea. I'm just kidding. So it's been a crazy week. Let's get to the real stuff. Today is the end of an era for us. We got called in on Wednesday and told that, Paramount was selling us and our sister site popculture.com were sold off. We've known for a while that Paramount was doing some rocky things with the company. They were coming in and restructuring under the guise of a legal counsel. To shout out to Karen, who for a long time I thought was going to be my sister-in-law. Hi, Karen. If you ever hear this for legal reasons, hi. New lead counsel of Paramount. And my brother sent me that a week ago, and I said, that engagement that didn't go through, I was like, this is either going to be okay for me or something else. So then Wednesday, and these are not related things, it's just coincidence, but then Wednesday we got called on a call all together and told that we are going to be sold, and we got sold, and the sale is happening right now as we are recording this. This is the last thing I'm doing on this Paramount laptop before I have to run it downtown. So I will be leaving here to go turn in this computer. We got sold off. Now, the rub in all this is we got sold to Savage Ventures. We got a new logo. We are entering the Savage Era. So we got sold to Savage Ventures of Nashville. And this is not unfamiliar territory. One of the owners of Savage Ventures is, of course, our new boss, who was also our old boss, Sam Savage, who is one of the people who helped kind of take comic book to the next level that we all jumped to when they sent out the recruitment drive way back. And you can believe we was talking to Sam. It's been almost 10 years. So back in 2016, when they sent out this whole recruitment drive, they dragged in me, they dragged in Matt, they dragged in Megan Peters, they dragged in a whole bunch of people that, are now, and we're the survivors now. We're like the Daryls and Carols of The Walking Dead. A lot of people died along the way, but we are still here. But Sam Savage was the man. I remember the day I sat in his office in Brentwood, and we hammered out what ComicBook Nation was going to be. We hammered out who my co-host was going to be. They asked me 2 times. They were like, "That guy, are you sure?" And I was like, "Not really, but I'm going to do it anyway." No, I'm just kidding. We hammered it out. And so he put me, Sam Savage is directly responsible for why I came to Nashville, why I joined Comic Book. He pressed a hard recruitment. It wasn't because my first thing was like, no thanks. No. And then they did a hard recruit. And so, he was here. And then he left to do his own venture when, Paramount kind of scooped up Comic Book. And now that venture has reacquired us. So we are going back to our old boss. And we're part of Savage Ventures now, along with some other great sites like Vice Media and AmericanSongwriter.com. Yeah, we're in there with Vice, of all people, which is crazy because I almost wanted to work for Vice for a long time. So love Vice. Does this mean we get to make chew chains and most expensivest? That'd be great.
Vice also handles the wonderful wrestling related shows that have been fantastic. So, hey, looking for crossovers there.
Yeah. So what this means is, for now, guys, I mean, it looks like we'll just be we're gonna be keep recording. I mean, obviously, you have new bosses. You never know what they want, what they don't want, but it's not on us. That's kind of out of our hands. But so far, it just seems like we're all just kind of moving over and doing business as usual. And like I said, this was a guy who helped us start Comic Book Nation in the first place, ironically. So, it's kind of it's been an interesting week. We've all been scrambling. We've literally had 48-hour clock over our heads to kind of get our entire businesses and stuff rearranged and get over there. To answer some questions, Chris Jefferson, we told Apple we were going to be a family-friendly podcast, and Spotify and all them. I think we got to still stick to that. Do we have the same corporate, heavy stuff on our necks? Not quite. But, our bosses still don't want their company going down because of crazy stuff we say on a microphone. So, we still have rules. And so, yeah. But I want to take a minute, because this is the end of an era for us. As we come to the end with Paramount, I just want to say some thank yous. First and foremost, I want to thank us. I want to thank us very much for everything that we did. I want to thank myself. I want to thank Matt. I want to thank Janelle. I want to thank our old buddy, Connor Casey. We haven't been able to say it for a bit here. If you've ever wondered where Connor is, Connor took a new job shortly before all this happened, and Paramount was all kind of got really iffy about him and still being on the podcast and taking a new job. So, we had to kind of say goodbye to Connor, but shout out to Connor Casey. Thank you for everything you did for us during these years, hopping on, helping us with wrestling, helping us with everything. I want to thank all the video team. I want to thank John, Peter, Rich, Jill, Aaron. We never even we don't say her name enough, but Jen Casperson, who comes back regularly and redesigns all these logos and boxes. Jen is our graphic designer and, awesome lady who helps make this show. There's so many people who help make this show, and none of these people are going away. I don't know why I'm talking like they're dying, but we are coming to the end of the Paramount era. But I want to thank
us. Is it starting to sound like a eulogy?
Yeah, I know, right? But I want to thank us because, we signed all. I never just talk disparagingly, but, it was interesting. I've been in two sides of this business now, and I started as a nobody upstart making my own thing over at Screen Rant and doing years of grinding it out, being a startup. Then I came here and worked for a big corporation, and they are definitely very different experiences. There's certain things I'm excited. Obviously change is scary for everybody, but there's things I'm excited about. I'm excited to go to now be kind of somewhere in the middle of that in a company, but in a company where we can do dynamic things, have spirit of growth, kind of moving forward, where we can enact ideas a lot easier. Do things without having to check with a 50-man legal team and 52 different professional meeting havers to talk about it before we get a yes on anything. I'm happy to be able to kind of in a ship that can move a lot faster. These are all good things we're happy about. And as I told the team behind the scenes here at ComicBook Nation, I'm happy for us. This podcast was made before we ever got to Paramount. And, I'm not going to throw too much shade, but I will just keep it to facts, which is much of what we did here in these years with this podcast was by us doing it. It wasn't because the company did it for us. It definitely wasn't because we got an overwhelming pile of cash and promotion and support. We did it, and the team here did it. And I'm very proud of everybody who has worked on this show. I'm also going to say a massive, massive, massive thank you to the fans. This year has been especially frustrating because we've had so much success this year. It's been ridiculous. I was just checking the numbers to see where we're at. We have increased. We've had a jump 49% in downloads this year. 49% jump. I have to double check because the numbers looked crazy, but the amount we've jumped in listeners this year is even crazier. it's even in a higher amount. And again, that's because last year, you know, we got a little frustrated with the slowness of corporate life. And when we got frustrated, we got low, but we got hungry, and we said, you know what? We're going to make this podcast bigger and badder. We're going to spread it out, and we're going to bring even more people from comic book in, and we're going to just flood the zone and do it and see what happens. And guess what happened? You guys responded, all you fans, everybody who regularly checks out Anime Initiative, everybody who regularly checks out Quick Save, who regularly checks out the poll list, who checks out all of them, the fans out there that I get contacted by who say, you know, I don't get to talk with a lot of people because most of my friends are fans of one or two things and they're so into that. But I'm more of like a, you know, an all-around fan. I like to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this. And you guys' show really caters to that. And you guys are some of the only people who cater to that. And so, you know, yeah, I love all you fans who tune in and stick with us. You guys are literally have saved our lives in the last year and helped our careers and helped us prove a serious point where we've been able to come out and say stuff with our chest again now, because nobody can tell us nothing in a way, because we went, hit the mattresses, did some grinding, and really proved that this Comic Book Nation thing is great. And the more of it we do, the more you guys engage with it, and the bigger we get and the better we get. And so I want to thank all our regular fans. I did a rundown, but Chris Chipperson, Brywood, Distance Nerding, everybody at Agents of Fandom, Damon. Oh my God, I'm going to mess this all up because there's so many. Everybody who's come on recently, Morales, Andrew, all in the game, everybody over on the YouTubes, the Twitches, the Facebook, and everybody who's hopped on Twitter and started getting in on through the X
it's been fun.
feed and all of that. Like, we appreciate you guys so much this year. You don't understand what you helped us do in the last year, the points you helped us prove, the kind of way you just helped us, you know, prove our own value, and all of that has been enormous. I'm going to give out some personal shout outs because I get people who help me. Shout out to my little brother, Chike, my older brother, Buster, Lucius. They always kind of listen and support. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to Jeffrey Rosenthal, Esquire, entertainment lawyer. Great guy. You got entertainment problems, he's a great guy to call. You talk to Jeffrey Rosenthal. Shout out to my boy, Justin Paz. You want to step up your cocktail game? You want to look a little classy? Pick up some Sarah Luce, you know, some sparkling Italian, invented by my friend, Justin Paz. So, yeah, we're doing all the promotions. We running it down for everybody right now. Shout out to my cousin, Skylar. Shout out to my cousin, Skylar, her son, Alexander. Shout out to my nephews, Braden, Quinn, Jackson. What up, guys? My niece, Lexi. You guys got to hold down our high school thing. I get youth to spread the word about us. Got to have a street team of youth to keep this thing going. So, yeah, did I leave anybody out? I know I left some people out. I'm so sorry. Shout out to, oh my God, my wife, my kids. They're all fans too. They watch live and stuff. They're downstairs. I better mention them first. Shout out to Ember in the background for playing quietly. Shout out. What's up, Ember? I think she's out somewhere today, but shout out to Ember for playing, Matt's daughter for playing, and, you know, my buddy, one of my BFFs, no big deal, but, you know, playing quietly on the background when we record these things. Yeah, shout out to Janelle's husband for always helping out there too. I know she's not here, but shout out to him for always helping out. We get a lot of spouses and childcare people because we all got kids on this show now, which is crazy. We've been here long enough that we made
man, that's everywhere. Wow,
yeah. So yeah, shout out to everybody, and yeah, I'm excited. You know, we told the good Lord this year, I was like, you know, I'm feeling kind of stuck. I'm feeling kind of stagnant. We need something to happen. We need something to move. I didn't think it would be like this, but here we are, and we are moving. So, yeah, shout out. Somebody said Jim Viscardi. Jim Viscardi. Yeah, we got some questions. Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. But Jim is out there, I'm sure. Hi, Jim. We're still here, Jim. We're still alive, Jim.
Jim's doing his thing at Image, man. Yeah, popping up at Comic-Con and doing all kinds of stuff. They finally let him out of jail.
Yeah, man, we're still here, good. Jim. Jim, we're still alive. Hi.
This is doing good. And yeah. There's so many people. Yeah.
But Matt, you have anybody you want to shout out before we get out of here? Oh, shout out everybody who comes on the show. My God. Shout out everybody who helps us out constantly. Evan Valentine, Nicole Drum, like Megan, Logan, everybody from the gaming team, like, yeah, oh man, I screwing this whole thing up. This is why I never need to win an Oscar or win anything.
I'll just say thank you to everyone, because yeah, I will leave so many people out, and I just echo everything Kofi just said. I mean, like, seriously, we sincerely appreciate you sticking around through the rough years there, and sticking around to now, where I think we're doing some of our best stuff, and I cannot wait to see what's coming down the pipeline. And it always makes my day when some of this actually kind of moves over to like social media or whatever, and I'm like interacting with someone and talking comics and geeking out about this stuff. This is the highlight of my day when that stuff moves over, and I've forged some amazing friendships, and thank you all for not getting tired of me. And I apologize for the frequent ramblings about random things. I almost brought up Murder, She Wrote during the Olympics talk, and I try to subdue myself, but I don't always get to do that, and sometimes the inner nerd just comes out. So thank you for dealing with that all these years, and hopefully I haven't outworn my welcome. So
last thing I'll say is proudest thing about this for me is, we started out with a vision for this podcast. We had a really fun office of really talented geeks who had really lively conversations. Okay, it was more like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It was us screaming over each other about stuff and having lots of arguments, but it was hilarious. And COVID and the pandemic year split us all apart. We got so far away from that concept. But this year, I'm very proud to say how much we've reclaimed that concept and kind of brought it back. And I told the team behind the scenes, and I'll say it up front, I love this now more than ever, because it's a joy to not just do these episodes, but to sit back, and I now listen to every episode. I watch them, I listen to them just, for notes and improvements, but listening to like people like Liam Crowley come up and do Riptide Radio, and seeing Megan and the anime team get their lane with Anime Initiative and kill it. Seeing the gaming team kind of hammering out what gaming podcast should even sound like, because nobody cracked the code, and we're starting to crack the code, and doing all that makes me fundamentally fulfilled, because what we wanted for Comic Book Nation was to show how talented comic book is, instead of getting yelled at about our articles all day, and show that we have like real people and really talented people here and really smart geeks. And yeah, we've been doing that this year, and it's made me immensely proud. One of the best comments I got at Comic-Con when I was walking around with my shirt is I did have a fan come up to me. He was like, "Hey, I love Comic Book Nation, but and I love you guys, but now that I see you in person here, and I want to ask you, are your guys' articles written? Or do you guys also write those? Or those, like, just tell me, are those Chat GPT?" And I was like, "Oh man, no, we write them." And he's like, "Well, thank God for the podcast." He's like, "It's good to hear you, like, everybody on the podcast and like all that." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you." And I was like, "Well, thank God we do this podcast." So, all right.
No, by the way, Torch, no. I don't know where those shirts are.
Officially, like, let's end with this. This is officially the end of the t-shirt era, guys. Like, those t-shirts now belong in a Paramount closet, and we are no longer allowed in the building. So